Voices is the newest feature to the DOA channel. This is a podcast where the outdoors comes alive from the people who live it. Each episode brings you face to face with hunters, anglers, and adventurers as they share their stories, their lessons, and their voices. More than just tales of the wild, Voices dives into the person behind the adventure, capturing the grit, gratitude, and wisdom that make outdoor life unforgettable. Available in both audio and video, every conversation is posted on YouTube so you can see and hear the stories as they unfold. For years, I've invited you into the raw wilderness that captures those moments of the outdoors. Standing just yards away from big game, feeling the surge of adrenaline as an arrow leaves the string, and sharing the flood of emotions that follow a harvest. Alongside the triumphs, I've opened up about the hard lessons and the mental battles that come with facing the wild landscapes of Alberta. These experiences have built a foundation of authenticity and connection with my audience, and now I'm expanding that journey. Voices is where I bring in the people who inspire me. Hunters, anglers, and adventurers, so together we can share their voices, their challenges, and their outdoor journeys with the community that we're building. Voices, a podcast by DOA, Dorward Outdoor Adventures. Voices is brought to you in part by Wapiti River Outdoors. Every elk hunt tells a story, and mine begin with Wapiti River elk reeds, crafted locally here in Alberta. Their calls are built for authenticity, and they've become the voice I rely on in the backcountry. Visit WapitiRiverOutdoors.com for all your elk reeds, bugle tubes, elk accessories, and trail cameras. Today's guest is a man who hunts harder, laughs louder, and self-films more chaos than most of us ever would admit to. Shane is a solo hunter, an elk whisperer, a whitetail grinder, and the only guy I know who can turn a blown stock into a comedy special. This past season, he finally connected on his 5-year deer, and we're diving into that whole journey, the close calls, the heartbreaks, the lessons, and the moment it all came together. I'm sure we'll get into some of his most memorable hunts, the thoughts, the feelings he captures on camera, and of course, that one-of-a-kind Shane humor that somehow shows up even when he's freezing, bleeding, or packing out an elk by headlamp. Shane, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jeff.
How are you, my man?
I am doing so good, Jeff. It's so good to be on here with you. Finally meet you after what seems like a million years of chatting kind of over Instagram or whatever it was. I was scrolling back through just before this. I was like, man, how long have me and Jeff like known each other? And I think I made it back to like May 2025. And then I was like, okay, so like a year and a bit.
Longer than that? Okay.
Yeah.
And I kind of did the same thing. I said to myself, how long have we been chatting? And I first remember reaching out to you. And I don't know if it was videos when I'm laying in bed watching the YouTube channel and videos that you might like, and hop onto the Shane Hunts guy. And I'm like, okay. And then you're out hunting elk, and you were out hunting elk by yourself. And I'm like, this guy is freaking crazy. Like, what if he gets something down? What's going to happen? And I think maybe I commented on a video, and then I found your Instagram, and then we messaged, and I'm like, hey man, are you okay? Like, are you really out there by yourself? Are you camping in your truck? You're like, yeah. I'm like, this guy is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Is he okay? Probably not, but he's definitely out there. So,
yeah, and it's funny because I think that I'll use the word attraction. What attracted me to your content in your channel is I think we do a lot of the things out in the outdoors very similarly, right? Like we're out there a lot of times by ourselves, although I've gone on a couple elk hunts by myself. We're self-filming. We have a YouTube channel. We go through the thoughts, the feelings, the successes, the hardships. And I was like, wow, I really get this guy. So I'm excited to talk to you today because I feel like we have so much in common, so much to get into, and I don't even know where to start.
I agree, Jeff. Don't know where to start, number one, but yeah, I agree. Like the way our YouTube channels are kind of set up, like I feel like there's a lot of similarities that run and kind of parallels in both of our channels. And same deal when I started checking out your stuff after we had messaged a million years ago, what feels like a million years ago, like same deal. It's been cool to watch your channel, and just did like a really deep dive into like the deep tracks, I guess, like a couple of weeks ago with me and my partner, and we ended up like in like the early stuff. So it's cool to watch the old stuff and like what you're doing now. And I like the yeah, like the broad amount of like different content, hiking, fishing, hunting, everything else that's on there. So I'm a fan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those kind words, and it's funny to look back into our our treasure vault, our memory vault, whatever you want to call it. And you rewind back to, I think the very first video I put out was after what I'll call a successful elk hunt, where I actually folded a tag. And my first video was like, I got a story to share because I killed something. I have a show, and it was, I believe it was the fall of 2019. And I look back at what I did and what I captured, and I'm like, oh my God, that was horrible. But maybe not, because it still told the story, right? And I think that's what's really important for me on those videos. So
yeah, totally. And like, I watched a Mr. Beast video one time, like the master of YouTube one time, and he was talking like about how everyone at some point throughout their YouTube journey will go back and look at their first video and they'll be like, man, I don't know if that was the move to release that. I'm the same. Like, I go back and I have like this heavy metal rock music playing in my first video. I encourage you to go watch it if you haven't checked it out. But it's a slammer for sure.
You know what? Speaking of that, let's for everyone listening and for everyone watching, I'll throw up the picture here. But for your YouTube channel and your Instagram or any other social media for Shane Hunts, where can people find you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Jeff. So yeah, I'm the owner, sole proprietor, owner, operator of a YouTube channel that's called Shane Hunts, ShaneHunts. You'll find me on YouTube there. And then I just run an Instagram account. Basically, it is a child to my YouTube channel. It's just like always trying to keep things kind of active when I'm not posting videos and connecting with people. I found like myself and you, Jeff, as a prime example, and having opportunities just to chat with people that, you know, you might otherwise not have met just through your YouTube channel and stuff. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Shane_Hunts on Instagram, Shane Hunts on YouTube.
Perfect. No, thanks for that. I encourage everyone to check out Shane's content. It's I'll use the word quirky, because the very first time I saw one of your videos, you put a lot, I don't want to spoil it, but you put a lot of little extra things, what goes through your thoughts, what goes through your mind, even voiceovers of what the deer might be thinking or saying when they're in the videos. And it's at first I was like, huh? And then I kept watching, and it hooked me, man. It hooked me. And I'm like, this guy is funny. And I remember we were watching a video, and I couldn't tell you which one it was, but Shanez was there, and she looked up, and normally she hears elk bugling, and she's like, oh my God, you're watching another hunting show. And she looked up and she was like, this guy's funny. And I'm like, right, isn't he? So Shane has this humor, and maybe we'll get into that right now. Where did that sense of humor come from, and how did you decide to add it to your videos?
God-given. No, I have no idea. Honestly, it's just like I take hunting very, very seriously, but I think I'm the most like unserious person ever when it comes to like life outside of work. And like when I'm just putting together videos, I'm just like, man, you know what would be funny if this deer started talking to this deer, or just like stupid things like this. And you know, and there's like the content that you can do after you've filmed stuff, and you can put some quirky things in there. But a lot of like, I don't know if anyone's seen like videos of when my younger sister's involved in like the videos as well. Like that girl can, like, you can forget about, you don't have to put any emojis, anything in your videos. Like, she is so naturally hilarious that it just like flows through the video too. And I'm like, I've seen, and I'm still figuring out what I'm doing and stuff here. So by no means, I'm not an expert. I'm not saying that at all. But like, I was like, growing up, a lot of the hunting videos that I was watching always kind of felt similar. It was like you changed out the location or the hunter or like the whatever, and there was some interchangeable things. But for the most part, it kind of seemed like a lot of things were not monotonous, because I love to watch them, but they were definitely like similar. And I was like, whatever, I'll just show people who I am and be who I am with like the people that I care about in my videos. So I'm like, cool, we'll do it. And then, yeah, the first video that I posted, that terrible one, like I was pumped because I was hitting like double-digit numbers. And I was like, let's go, 50 people think I'm hilarious, let's go. And then, yeah, and then the second video and third video just kind of like, and then I was able to kind of show more about who I am as like a hunter and how what I like bring to that kind of table. I don't know if I bring anything to that table, but kind of how intense and how seriously I do take it aside from the funny stuff. And so those ones did really well, and it's kind of been a cool journey ever since then. But definitely it's like my biggest, so Shanaz, my partner, is not like, she doesn't love hunting. She doesn't love, like, I've brought her out with me a couple of times, and we're actually only one time, and she said it was creepy and she was never going to go again. But she is like a really good, she's like, before I post a video, any video, I will just ask her to watch it and be as critical as she possibly, like, tell me as though you don't know me. Like, if you watch this right now, what sucks, what's funny, and it's like, try and eliminate me from the video and just watch this as someone that doesn't like hunting, that doesn't like me. Sometimes she doesn't like me, but and then just like see what you think. And so she's very upfront and honest, and that's what I love about her. She'll tell me exactly what's good, what's not. And so those videos sometimes get cut down a whole bunch, or I add more, Shane stuff to the videos that might not be in there and stuff like that. So it's been like kind of cool to have her as like a shotgun rider too, kind of guiding how things go. So
an assistant executive producer.
Exactly. I'm gonna let her know, honey, Jeff just promoted you. So but yeah, she's the best. So yeah, as far as where it comes from, yeah, my dad, he's like that too. He's just like quirky, odd dude once you get him going, and like so
yeah, no, and I think that's really important that you touched on, right? Like, you take it seriously. I'll say there's a comedy element introduced naturally, but there's still so much respect, so much ethics that are involved in your hunts and what you show and emotions. So the comedy portion is just the extra, the Shane-ness, as I like to call it, that just adds to that whole experience. But I completely understand what you mean by the rinse, wash, repeat of your typical hunting show. So yeah, for sure. And yeah, totally. And I appreciate you saying that about like, try to definitely kind of embody in those videos like who I am and like that kind of thing. So I appreciate respect was thrown in there, because that's something I firmly believe in. So yeah, you betcha. So I guess, what made you want to start recording your hunts? Were you hunting a lot before you started filming? And I know if we rewind to the very first videos that you posted, I think one of the ones you have is a combination of 4 or 5 years where it's just a whole bunch of clips from previous years. But were you recording lots before you did the channel? And what made you want to start the channel?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like hunting has been something that's been in my life. It's been like my one and like my passion since I could walk. And like growing up, I was just kind of like, I remember getting like a digital camera when I was like, I don't even know, 12 years old or something. And back then that was a big deal. And I could like, I remember my friends and I, we would like videotape our soccer in the front yard, and we would like videotape playing golf and stuff. And like, it was cool to watch them back or whatever, because it's like a memory, right? And so basically I was like, when I ultimately moved out to Alberta from New Brunswick from when I was a kid, in 2014, I ultimately moved out because of the whitetails. Like, that's how obsessed I was back then. And I was like, there's no world-class whitetails unless you're my dad in New Brunswick.
So wait, sorry, I gotta say, you moved from New Brunswick to Alberta because we had better whitetail deer.
Legit. And I remember the place that I applied to at the time, it was somewhere in Alberta. And I remember my boss at the time, he's a big whitetail hunter as well. And I put it on my resume. Like, I was just a kid, like, and that was like, I'm like, it's like, what's your interest? It's like hunting. And that was like one of the only couple things at the bottom. And luckily that caught the eyes of the right person. And my boss at the time, like I said, it was like kind of a remote-ish community. And so a lot of people, they would have a high turnover rate of people coming out and then realizing what the town was and then kind of leaving. And so I flew out as like a compatibility thing, and he brought me to, or like, I went to the town. I was like, this looks like whitetail heaven right here. And so he knew the whole
I don't care if it doesn't have a Tim Hortons or Costco. I want whitetail woods.
it didn't have one at that point in time. I'm like, perfect, no people. I'm like, this is the best. And although I was kind of disappointed, that was a transition, but having no Tim Hortons and that kind of thing from a place that had Tim Hortons everywhere. But the last thing he did before I flew out was he took me to his garage and showed me this like 4x4 drop tine that was hanging in his garage. And I'm like, where do I sign? Like, I'm ready to fly out right now. Like, I don't care. Like, put me to work anywhere. Like, this is where I'm coming. So
yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's an obsession for sure. And so, like when I moved out here, I never thought that like filming was going to be something. We kind of dabbled around. Friends of mine back in New Brunswick, we had this channel that was called Team 365. And it was like, it's supposed to represent like hunting 365 days of the year. We were just kids, but we made up like a logo and stuff. And we were selling hoodies and everything. And it was mostly based around waterfowl because the guy that I was hunting with like knew everything about it. I know nothing about that. I'll claim that all day. But so when I moved out here, I was like, cool, there will be an element to like potentially getting to film stuff, but I'm not gonna, like, I'm going out for me. And then so I remember in 2015, I was like kind of dabbling with the idea of starting to film stuff. And I went on Kijiji and I ended up buying this camera from this guy who actually also has a YouTube channel. And I knew nothing about cameras, but this camera had like a camo wrap on it. And I'm like, let's go. That's the camera I'm looking for right there. And this guy, Tagged Out Outdoors, I think it's Tagged Out Outdoors. Shout out to you. I don't know the name of the channel runner, but shout out to you because you are you made all of this happen. But so I bought that and randomly just started filming. But the thing was I always started off a season strong. I don't know about you, Jeff, but like like at the first, when you first start, it's so hard to like introduce that into hunting and then be consistent with it. It's like you start off so strong at the first of the season, and by the end, you're like, I literally want to throw this camera into the bush and forget about it forever because it's so challenging to make everything happen, and you're only focused on the hunting aspect of it. And so finally in 2020, I had just an accumulation, or 2021, I had an accumulation of 5 years worth of footage of like starting and not finishing. And I was like, whatever, we'll put this video together and see what happens. And I had some extra time. I think it was over like a Christmas break or something. I was like, whatever, I'm never going to do anything with this. So I'll put it somewhere. And I put it somewhere. And then all of a sudden these strangers started commenting and they're like, this is not bad. I'm like, do you think I'm a star? So yeah, it was good. It was good stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, long story long, I guess that's kind of how that all went down.
Okay. Yeah. No, I completely get what you mean when you say it starts off very strong. I'm going to record everything. And in your mind, in my mind, when I go through it, I have a vision of this is how it's all going to turn out. Here's what I'm going to capture. Here's how it's going to end. And nothing that I plan out in my head turns out the way it is. And I capture whatever I can. And I'm never sure of how it's going to end. And I find something beautiful about that, where it's like, I'm just capturing, I'm going through the emotions. I'm up, I'm down, I miss, I succeed. And then it's like, wow, the story kind of writes itself and I'm just there living it. And even I'll go back to last year's elk hunt, which was, man, it was a trying time for me. I started recording at the beginning and I did 2 separate weeks with 2 different groups of friends. Each one had their own challenges and whatnot. And I remember my partner, Leon, even asked me, he didn't see me pull out the camera for probably 2 days. He's like, you still recording? And I was like, yeah, but there's nothing. What do you want me to record? I can only talk to the camera so much. No one wants to see that. They want to see bugling elk and this. And sure enough, a couple of days later, the camera comes out and we get an elk on the ground and whatnot. But yeah, it's it can be a grind sometimes. How do you get through the moments when it's not going your way or it feels slow with no footage to capture?
Yeah, definitely. And I found that when I first started, I felt like every single, like, I almost followed a script too much. Like when you said the stories write themselves, like that's exactly right. The stories write themselves. And so it's almost like and this might be a surprise, but like I kind of get nervous in front of camera still sometimes and stuff.
No way.
I swear to God. And it's like, and that's been like a part of me that's grown over the course of the last few years. But it's just like, I don't know, like I don't know. It's Yeah. So
I would have never guessed that you would be nervous talking in front of a camera and whatnot. Do you do a lot of retakes when you're recording? If you start talking, you're like, oh, I messed that up, and start over?
no, surprisingly not. And so I think that's what my point was. I totally lost my train of thought. But so I do sometimes on the channel, I'll do like review videos and stuff. And I find those videos like the most challenging because there is almost a script that you do have to follow. And it's like, I need to touch on this, I need to touch on this. And I put so much friggin' pressure on myself to like nail every point that it's like terrifying. But in the woods, it's like, the story does write itself. You can't make a script even if you wanted to, or else I would have had a 180-inch buck 5 years ago. And it's like you put the camera up to your face and you show exactly what you're doing, exactly what you're feeling at any given time. And yeah, I used to have this thing where it was like you need to film every single day, and you need to go and like tell the people what you did this day, then what you did this day and this day. And then it's like I don't know, you kind of get a creative element where you can kind of tell the story how you want to, despite how it all plays out. But yeah, it's cool it's cool at the end of the trip when you're kind of, you know, putting everything together as far as your footage is concerned, and you be like, damn, like I was there, I went through that. And like that was, but going through stuff, I don't know, like I think that just with, you know, having hunted for a really long time, I've had, as everyone has that's hunted, has had lots of experiences with heartbreaks and disappointments. And the beautiful thing about it is that you could be, you know, you could wake up the next day, everything changes, which it did this past fall. And it's like, you could be a hunter going out for your very first time going out hunting, or you could be 90 years old having hunted your whole life, and you might see the exact same thing that day. So you never know what's going to happen. And so it sucks in the moment, but there's always tomorrow, for the most part, until you hit November 30th, and then you can be disappointed for the next year. But yeah, that's kind of how it is.
I remember when I first started hunting, and I started bow hunting. I didn't start rifle hunting till, probably 10 years after I started bow hunting. And I remember that November 30th, and I hadn't folded a tag, and I've seen lots of animals, but not experienced enough to know how to connect, what to do. And I remember I'm like, oh man, I'm going to get out of my stand and there's an hour left and I'm going to drive up and down this road. And I was just like pure panic mode. And I can remember that. And I'm just like, what was I doing? And it's just maturing and learning. And I mean, we still learn, even though I've been doing this for, almost 30 years now. I take something different away every year. I learn from it, and it helps write the story for the next year, not knowing what that story is going to be.
100%. Yeah. Whether it's learning about animals or learning about yourself, like filming, or, you know, anything, like there's so many things that you gain from going out on a day-to-day kind of thing. So
yeah. What do you think is the most challenging part about self-filming?
I think myself as a kind of a perfectionist, I kind of dabble along the lines of a little bit trying to make things too perfect. And I think I got away from that this year, which was good. And it worked out in my favor, where you always want to, like, when you're putting together a video and like you're trying to tell people a story, and what you've seen on TV has always been this like beautiful footage, you know, you have a third guy there, you have people with microphones, like the sound is perfect, the video is perfect, you're getting like beautiful lighting with when the deer's coming in and all that stuff, and that's what you compare it kind of to, right?
Yeah.
And you get out for the first time and you're trying to put together stuff like that, and it doesn't work out that way. And so I think that, but I still try and like make the best videos that I possibly can. And I think that, you know, it's almost like waiting too long when a shot even does present itself. Like sometimes I'm not taking the shot because I don't have the buck in frame, or those kind of things, right? And I think that also, like, I can't imagine how people do this when they're bow hunting, because I'm sitting there with a rifle and I'm still struggling. Like it's tough, like little tiny movements you have to think about everything all at once, like the camera, how you're going to get your rifle up, how you're going to like check it out with your binos. Like you have 500 different things happening all at once, and you're trying to, at the end of the day, you're trying to make the shot, and adding in that extra element of trying to not only get the shot, but get the shot in frame in good frame that you can like use that footage towards something, it's broken my heart a couple of different times. Like last year was, I had a really, really tough go with it was a beautiful 6x6, and he came in at 45 yards and I had him in my scope, and it was like perfect. I had the perfect stable shot, and I was like, there's no way this deer is getting away. And my camera went out of focus, and it was like that kind of like, that's how quickly that can happen if you're adding in that element and you really want to stand by it and commit to it. I'm like, dude, that was a learning experience for me. It's like, that's what you have to give up right there if you want to put together a good video. So.
Yeah, I remember watching that one, Shane, and I was like, oh my God, I see him behind the willows. And when you're moving, you have a couple different cameras, and you got some point of view, you got some facing you, and you're like tripods up, you're running, like you are quick, you are moving through those woods and you get it all. And when that buck came from behind those willows and it was in camera, I'm like, oh my God, buck of a lifetime. Like here he goes. And then it moved and then it walked away. I was like, oh man, I felt so many different things. And my first thought was, Shane, who cares about if it was on camera? You see it in your eyes. You're going to get the aftermath of the emotions. And oh man, does that still keep you up at night or?
Oh, 100%. And I'm not just saying that just for like legit. I think about that buck literally every couple days. It's, everything happens for a reason. Who knows what that reason was? Well, that reason was to make sure that if you have the shot, you're taking the shot. And it's like people finish watching that video and they're like, should have shot. And I live with that. Like every day beyond that, it's like, it's rough. And that guy specifically, because, when you're looking at like that buck was at 80 yards when he first came out. And when I talked before about like trying to get your binos up and get your rifle and get your camera and everything, he had all kinds of willows that were behind him, so you couldn't really make out what his frame was or anything. And I was looking for something giant, and I could see that he had a big frame, but I thought he was a 4x4. And just like, watching him come in and around, and then it was just, I couldn't see what he was until he was that close. And you can only like, I don't know about you, but like the video camera little like display screen, I use that to like scout, like you're zooming in on that animal, and that's your best view that you have because you can't move anything else. And so you're just like,
yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think, and then having that footage afterwards, and then having zoomed in and seeing how big that guy was, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start fishing.
So a tough question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. That same opportunity presents itself again. Are you taking the shot, or are you worrying about the camera?
I'm taking the shot 100%. I can flat out say that is what I'm going to do. This year I had kind of a similar thing happen where I didn't have him perfectly in frame. Like I had an action camera on, and I slammed down my other camera, and like I had watched him, he had gone through the camera for like, he walked by the frame for a second and a half or 2 split seconds. I slowed it down to make sure everyone could see him. But as soon as he walked out of that frame, I'm like, I have seconds before this buck disappears into the depths of the bush. Like there's so many different aspen trees at different distances. It was just like, he walked out one place and he appeared 10 yards over here. And I was like, I don't care about the camera. Like that buck, that's my buck. And so 100%, I think that I had to learn that lesson last year. It was a hard lesson learned. Luckily, it wasn't like a 200+ inch guy, because I probably would have done the same thing. But luckily, he was whatever he was. He was probably, I don't even want to think about it, start crying on your podcast here, Jeff. But yeah, but anyway, I would definitely take the shot now for sure.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times, and I guess the one time that I remember was probably, maybe a couple of years ago, 2023. I've had this big bull moose in the bow zone that I've seen on camera, and I have videos of him year after year. And I'm like, one of these years, one of these days, I'm going to get a chance to connect on him. And never ever seen him on the hoof. And as I'm making my way down to this one area that they always seem to come late September, grabbed a couple cards on the way, just swapped them out on my cameras, got up, went to my stand, and it was a really windy day. And I'm like, okay, we're settled in, we're early. Let's pop in my card reader, go through them on my phone, see what's there. And sure enough, it was like 2.5 hours earlier, he had passed by the field edge. And I'm like, well, I know where he goes. I got it. So yeah, let's start calling. And I hate hunting when it's windy because I don't have the best hearing. Anyone that's ever hunted with me or talked to me in a room with noisy people, you'd be like, Jeff, you are deaf. So I don't have the best hearing. So when it's windy and I'm hunting, I struggle. I'm like, okay, so let's start calling. Let's do whatever I can. He's around and he's nearby. So I start wailing on the cow calls and whatnot and everything. And I got my video camera up on my ladder stand and it's pointing out in front of me. And sure enough, I'm in between the wind gusts and whatnot. I just hear the, oh, and I'm like, holy crap. He's like right below me, 5 yards behind me. And without moving my body, I could just move my eyes and I could see the rack. And I'm like, that is him. I'm like, well, what's my first reaction? Don't worry about my bow. Get the camera door open and just hit record so that it's going to record. And he caught my movement doing that. And I never got a shot at him where I would have, Jeff, if you just would have waited and let him get in front of you. And I was too worried about the camera. Rewind 15 years ago, I'm elk hunting and there's a cow and a calf running down a hill. And I'm like, oh, okay. Get out my phone, start recording it. Oh, look, there's a nice 5x5 bull. And I'm like, try to get the camera down, try to cycle a bullet into my gun. Oh man. So yeah, it's I did change my mindset to I am hunting because I love eating. I love eating meat. I have a smoker. I like to do different things with it. And if I will do everything I can to get the shot on captured and recorded, but if I can't, then I can't. So yeah.
For sure. And yeah, I think that there's like ways to, and like over the last 5 years or whatever it's been since I haven't shot anything, there's ways to make like you can still tell a story without getting that footage at the end of the day too. And so yeah, and I think that's one thing that I kind of came to peace with is that you don't have to have everything, but like your story still is your story. And what's going to happen is like, you still can run it how you want to run it. And the footage at the end of the day is and everything. I've had people in the past and maybe like people that are like have shows and stuff on WildTube that are like, you have to get the kill shot. And like, I think maybe that was just like ingrained in my brain, but then I'm like, that's not really who I am. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of, yeah, just different, I guess. So I was like, whatever, it is what it is. But I broke that habit, albeit it was a tough one, but definitely broke that last year. So.
And it's a feel-good thing. I mean, you have shots on camera. I remember watching your one video on your elk hunt where you shoot it and it hits right away and it falls over. And I mean, it's fulfilling, right? It's a satisfying. I mean, on the couple that I have a young doe from a few years back. I got my basket case, my target deer from a couple years ago. And lucky enough, this past year, I couldn't get my camera on. I tried twice with my winter coat, but before that, I had my trail camera pointed and my trail camera captured it. But you're right. It's ingrained to us because when you watch the shows, whether it's online or on TV, that's the money shot, right? That's what everybody wants. And yeah, that did turn me away from posting my early stuff because let alone a kill shot, I didn't even have a kill on camera. So I felt there wasn't a story, but there always is. We know that now. We've learned.
Yeah, 100%. And then, yeah, like, and you know, you watch some people too, depending on different styles and stuff too. Some people just don't even include that, even if they do have it. Like I've watched a couple of people that just like black that part out. And I've watched even old Canada in the Rough way back when I was a kid. And I don't know if it was just CBC that like censored it or whatever, but
right.
You know, they still tell the story. The story is still told. It's just, yeah, at the end of the day, that's 1% of your entire hunt. And so it's at the end of the day, it's what you're going for, but yeah.
I hear you. When, I'm going to rewind just a little bit. When did you start getting into hunting? Like who was it that got you into it? You said your dad hunted a lot and whatnot. So how old were you? And what do you remember from the early days?
Yeah, I have wicked memories from when I was a kid with my dad. My dad's he's still kicking around, so luckily I'm a lucky guy. But
and he still holds the family record, which we'll get into. But
yeah, he does. Yeah, he's gonna love this part. But yeah, Yeah, I remember, there's pictures of me as like a tiny little kid. I don't necessarily remember these pictures, but me with that same vest on. My dad gave me this vest that it was in blaze orange, was a big thing in New Brunswick. It was like you had to wear blaze orange. And my dad's vest, like it would go over top of my knees. I'd have this huge like toque on and stuff. And my great uncle, he like had a piece of property up in rural New Brunswick. And so every single November, since literally as early as I could walk, like those pictures of me were from when I was a baby. And we'd go up there every single weekend in November. And I remember like my dad would always ask, like, school is big in our household and like making sure that you're doing well in school. And my dad would always ask me before we went up to hunting camp, he'd be like, you got any tests next week? You got any like projects or anything? I'm like, nope, not in November. No. And so he was like, I think he understood even at that time, like I was literally obsessed with it. And I remember walking, like we would walk up over the hill, and basically there's a piece of property across the way. We'd walk like 2 kilometers up there and we'd come back around, and I wasn't even sometimes tall enough to see over like the berms it was like an old logging road. And I just followed my dad around, and like I was living through my dad's excitement of like when he would see stuff. And I remember like the first time that we had deer come in, we were sitting on a stump on this old road, and there was like a doe and a fawn that came towards us. And I remember my dad shaking and I was just a kid, like, and I'm like, me too, like I'm pretty excited too. And yeah, like every single weekend that we'd go up, like my great uncle and like all of his friends would be like, oh yeah, someone saw like a 14 pointer up here this year. And it's like, you're right, like every single year there's this 14 pointer that was up there. And I don't know if they actually believed it. Looking back now, I'm like, that's pretty good genetics for that area. But it's like, yeah, there's always that excitement that might be a possibility. And being out with your dad, that's where I shot my first, they call them partridge back home, prairie chickens out here, but shot my first bird with my dad over that hill. And when we weren't walking up over the hill, like I remember being in my dad's he had like a bench seat F-150, and it was just this brown old truck, and we used to just cruise on old roads and stuff. And I remember just like going to Tim Hortons and getting like a hot chocolate. We'd have all kinds of Halloween candy, and I just always remember The Logical Song for some reason by Supertramp. Every time it comes on, I'm like, that's the song that was on when we're riffing around and stuff. And so it always gives me good memories. And it was just, yeah, like core memories as a kid, and definitely like at a young age just got obsessed with it because of how my dad was, and the way that how seriously he took whitetail hunting and all of his vacations. Whether, I was born in November, Emma was born in October, but my dad ain't missing whitetail season. He's out there every year. And so
he needed to time that a little bit better, but
I know. Yeah. So, but yeah, so it was just, yeah, I don't know. So it's just been just growing up with him and then watching him and stuff like that. He's been role model since kind of day one, and really cool guy. So
those are some colorful memories, like even the songs and the vehicles, and yep. Man, those stick with you for a lifetime, right? Like
totally.
Yeah. So your dad and Emma's your older sister, right?
Younger. She's 2 years younger. Yeah.
Okay. So do they still live back in New Brunswick and you're out here without them?
Yep. I try and drag Emma back all the time, but Emma's my dad hasn't left. Like we've tried he was an electrician by trade he's retired now, but we tried to convince him to come over, but he wouldn't leave the East Coast, which is cool. It's beautiful over there.
Yeah.
But Emma has been like, she worked in, I'm going to tell you, she'll probably be pissed at me about what she does and stuff, but she used to do like wildfire stuff over here, kind of go back and forth. She used to work for Tolko, like wood companies and stuff. So anyway, she was always in kind of like the forestry realm when she was out and about over here. And but yeah, recently she just moved back to New Brunswick. Well, a couple of years ago, bought a house on the lake and is just living it up back there. So
and she's got somewhere to visit and somewhere to hunt when she comes to see you.
Yeah, as long as I tag out first, she's got a place to hunt. But if she doesn't, then she can. Yeah, she does.
So, how many years have you been out west in Edmonton here?
I've been in Edmonton since 2017. I think is when I moved to the big city. But I was living in a different place in Alberta for like whatever that was, 4 years since 2014 is when I officially moved out here. So
okay, and so the season, and I know Darren Chevery, who's been a previous guest and a friend of mine, he mentioned like the same thing back east, that the hunting season is a lot shorter and you're allowed like one white-tailed deer, and there's just not a whole lot of opportunity if that's something you live and breathe. So
totally.
Talk about the hunting back there. I know you said you came to Alberta for the opportunity, but pretty limited, pretty restricted on what you can harvest.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like they definitely don't have the multitude of different tags that you can buy out here. There's like it's whitetail, it's grouse, or it's like, you know, migratory birds like bears.
No moose out there? Like no moose tags?
There are, but they call it a moose lottery, and that's exactly what it is. Like you put in for like our priority system or whatever. Sometimes you can get them after, I don't know, you can get them relatively quickly, like a couple of years. Right. Back home, it's like you're talking decades of putting, like it's probably comparable to, I don't even know, like a wild turkey or I don't know, one of those big ones, right? That you put in
pronghorn or something, 12 years. Yeah,
exactly. And so moose was never like, moose camp is like a big culture thing back home. It's pretty cool. Like everyone, like, because you can have, at least when I was there, I haven't followed the rules since I was there, but you can have a shooter and a second shooter. You know, if your friend gets one, all the boys and people are going to moose camp and stuff, and it's like a big thing. And it's, you know, it's a 3-day season. It was a 3-day season. I think it's like 5 now. And so you can imagine the amount of people that kind of overtake the bush at that point. And even with whitetail season, like rifle season, I think was 3 weeks long or something like that. And like you could get a couple extra bonus weeks if you're bow hunting, but I don't bow hunt.
Right.
And so it was like, you know, I came home telling stories to my dad about how I passed up a buck, and he almost, he's kind of given one of those, but yeah, it's just kind of who I've always been, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely, when you talk about opportunities, like not only the size of the whitetails out here, but how far away you can get from people out here too, is just like, I couldn't trade it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I said this before on other podcasts and whatnot. With Edmonton and Alberta, born and raised here, being home, I can never imagine leaving. I mean, family and obviously whatnot first. Second is like, oh man, like we have everything you could ever ask for here. Like, I mean, a lot of people, and I haven't gotten like the Africa or the overseas bug yet to go do different hunts. Everything that holds my interest and that I'm excited for is right here in North America, and more specifically Alberta. So I have no reason to go anywhere else. And yeah, it's amazing.
100% agree. Like every year you can try something else new if that's your thing, or if you're just a crazy person like me, you can just whitetail it till you're dead kind of thing. So it's awesome. I love Alberta. I love the outdoors in Alberta. You couldn't pay me enough I love this province for sure.
No, awesome. So when you did get to Alberta, you obviously found out pretty quick that, hey, there's elk here and we can hunt them. And if I'm not mistaken, your sister knew more about elk than you did, and she was the one that kind of got you into it. We'll give Emma a shout out and some props here.
She loves that. It seems like she naturally comes up getting props on every single conversation I'm in. But
tell me about like how you discovered elk and what made you want to chase them, because they're not an easy animal to hunt. And we talked lots during both of our hunts when I was out there and when you're out there. How did you get onto them, and what started that passion?
Yeah, first of all, appreciate you, Jeff, throughout not only elk season, deer season, everything else. Always given I said we started talking in like May 2025 or whatever, but consistently all the way through the season, just always, you know how it is through dog days and dark days and everything else. And that's something that I saw too. I'm going off on a tangent. I might even have to ask you what the question was at first. But it's like I've seen every single, like I've watched every single one of your podcasts so far, and everyone kind of has this comment. Everyone says something similar about how you were there for them and like supporting them through all of, you know, those dog days and stuff like that. And I just want to echo that. I want to be the 50th person to say that on this, that you're there for me too. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as like how I got into it, I got into it when I moved out here, but really I had no idea what I was doing. Like I friends of mine who had moved out here before me were like pretty good at calling and like learning about elk and stuff, but I knew nothing. I still know nothing, but it was like back then I was just putting out trail cameras, kind of hunting them the exact same way that I was hunting whitetails. Like I was like, oh, we'll just apply everything we know about that and it's going to work perfectly and we'll find everything. And that was a learning experience. And I think that's where Emma really kind of came in like clutch for me. And that she kind of, when she was living out here as well, she was friends with a lot of people that were born and bred Alberta, right? And who I learned when I moved out here that, you know, elk is almost secondary whitetails are almost secondary to elk to a lot of people in Alberta, it seems like. And so lots and lots of people who were just lived and breathed that. So she picked up a lot of things from them. And yeah, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll start listening to Emma a little bit, I guess. And then we were finding ourselves around elk some more and stuff. And then the first time that I went out, or like the first elk that I got was in 2021. And I remember I had just gotten in like a pretty brutal bike crash and I broke like my collarbone. I broke like 6 ribs. I had like a concussion and all this stuff. That happened in July. And I remember we went out on opening day or something. And so just a couple months later, like I wasn't even fully healed yet. The doctor was like, you can only carry 10 pounds. And so I weighed my rifle and I'm like, 10 pounds, perfect. This is all I need. And so anyway, Emma ended up packing that entire elk out basically. And she almost like killed herself bringing her quad up through like the deep timber that we were in. So shout out Emma, I guess I'll give you a shout out for that. But
so she was with you for your first one, because I know I've watched the videos and it gets the amount of hunting videos that I watch, I get mixed up. So she was with you when you harvested your first one.
Yeah, she was. And she was more excited, I think, than I was at that moment, because I had heard from everyone like, you need to shoot elk and then you need to shoot elk again. And then you need to keep pumping bullets in. And I think after he went down, after I got him in my first shot, he went down. And I wasn't convinced that, like, I was like, everyone had told me, you got to get ready for that second shot. And so I'm sitting there, adrenaline is just pumping, and Emma's celebrating beside me. I'm like, Emma, shut up. We're not done. We're not done yet. And so it processed a little bit quicker for her, but I was totally expecting this guy just to bump up and bail out kind of thing. And so, but she was there. That video is hilarious to watch because, yeah, she was just like, why aren't you excited? It was just so funny watching her watching me and being like, what's going on? Or
it hadn't set in for you yet. You were still going, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah.
And there's been other elk hunts that you've been on where you have packed out elk solo, which, man, good on you for being in the physical shape and the mental strength to be able to do that and back and forth. And that's not easy. I have gone out, like I said, for elk hunts by myself, but always with, hey, are you around if I do? Like, can I call you? I'll start working on it. And I've never had to pack out anything by myself for an elk. But where do you find the strength and how do you plan? Like, how do you do it, man? How do you do it?
I think it's all stupidity, to be honest. I think that's kind of, like, I'm never thinking, and this is the worst, and my partner will tell you I'm the worst planner of all time, but I never planned, like, I plan to get to the point that I have an opportunity to take a shot. Whatever comes after that, I don't care. I'll ride. I'm that kind of guy. And so with that guy, so I packed one out back in, I think that was 2023 or something. And that was kind of the first, like, and he was a giant too, in comparison to my first elk. Like, he was a big boy. And he was luckily not in like the most remote bush of all time. He was still, I can't remember, I think it was 1.5 kilometers each way. And so I started at like 9, I think I shot at 9:30, and by like, I don't know, 10:30 or something like that, I had gotten enough quarters or something done that I could start packing them out. And I wasn't home until I don't think I got home until like 7:30 or something that evening. And so it's like, I don't know. I think the first time that I did it, I was like, I don't know, like it's kind of a, I don't know if cool goal. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like
adrenaline, maybe.
Yeah, adrenaline, and just like, can I do this? I think that I can do this. Let's, one at a time. And, you know, yeah, just kind of like, I do marathons for fun sometimes, or at least I used to before before food became my prerogative. And it's kind of the same thing but differently, or same with going to the gym or something like that. It's like, oh, can I do this? Can I beat this? Maybe that's a super lame analogy, and I don't want to. I've been watching a lot of Love Is Blind, and this guy from that show anyway was like, yeah, compares everything to soccer anyway. So anyway, I'm not going to compare everything to like going to the gym and that kind of thing. But anyways, it's kind of a cool thing to do for yourself, I guess.
So just telling yourself that, yeah, I can do it. I'm not going to do it all at once, one piece at a time, and just having that strength to follow the task through, right? Like, yeah.
And I don't think the part, like the mental part, is everything. Like I wasn't training for that at all. Like trying to, like, I wasn't lifting or doing anything like that. I just have a pretty decent like cardio engine, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I was like just going one after the other, and it was like, that part wasn't the challenging part. The challenging part was thinking about like what might be at the carcass when you get back there, I think that was the part that I was always concerned about. And then like when you're packing something out, you want to have as little weight as possible. And so you opt between like what you want to pick, i.e. your gun, i.e. like your camera. Like obviously I left my camera gear there because I could not physically do that many trips with my camera. But even my rifle, after like the second trip, I think I was like, we're going bear spray and that's it, because I don't think I can physically do this carrying that extra weight in and out.
Yeah.
And so it gets a little dicey that way when you're coming up on dark and, you're still out there by yourself in the remote bush, and sometimes you didn't have service and your phone was dying. It was like, there's a lot of things that you're like, I don't know how much I love this right now. But
yeah. Well, you're weighing out your risks, right? Like, I mean, and I know we hunt partially similar areas. And of course, I think anywhere in Alberta now, I mean, the grizzly population are out. People have them on trail cameras. People run into them. They seem to share the same territory that the elk do, right? I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't seen one in the last 15 years. The last one I saw in the wild was near Whitecourt, and that was probably 20 years ago. But yeah, they're out there. So you're right. You're making that choice. You're weighing out the risk of, man, I am dying. It's my fourth trip. Do I need my gun? I didn't need it on the 3 previous ones. And when you leave it, is that the time you're going to need it, right? So I get it. Yeah, and then you like, just, like I remember the grizzly dude, that guy that does his, like he talks about that, and he talks about like how any given day you don't expect something to happen, right? And so you don't prep. Maybe the one day that you don't prep for something like that to happen. I think in his example, he said that his bear spray was at the bottom of his pack or something. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's crazy. You never know what's going to happen. And so always have to consider that, especially during elk season. And I hope, I love the wildlife. I love outdoors, but I am fine if I never see a grizzly in my life. I'm good.
Yeah. You talk about the bear spray, and I remember this. It was another. I used to hunt around Whitecourt quite a bit, and my hunting partner Leon and I, we were out and we were elk hunting. So we walked in the dark, like an hour before sunrise, and we got to this one ravine, and it was kind of like a dead end trail, and it just dropped into this valley. And the only way we could go out was the same way we came back in. But there we sat and we called, and we went through our calling sequence, and we made it sound like we were a whole herd of elk with calves and just having a frolicking in the forest, right? And then we sat down on this fallen log, and we took off our packs and a granola bar and a Gatorade, and we're still whispering, and we're talking about where we're going to go. And we could hear something in the bush, and I'm like, you hear that? Yeah. I'm like, man, it sounded small, like probably a rabbit, squirrel. We're like, I don't know, whatever it is. And this is archery season, so all we had was our bows on us. So we're like, okay, let's walk over here, put our packs on, get up, turn to go up the trail. Well, there's this cougar about 40 yards away, just sitting there looking at us, and I'm like, oh, so we're kind of like, what do we do? I've never seen one. I never really expected to see one. I don't know why. I didn't educate myself on what to do up until this point. So I start scrambling, and I remember Leon asked, he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to get my phone and my backpack, and I got to take a picture. No one's going to believe us. And anyways, we're like, hey, try to make some noise. And it just turned and slowly walked away. And I was like, man. Oh my God. You know, when you can feel your heart in your ears and you can't hear anything else, that's what everything was just surreal. And I'm like, okay, we can't go down. Like it's a drop off. So we go back through there, didn't see it, kind of make our way through for the rest of that trip. I packed my rifle on my backpack. And then when I got home, I'm like, okay, let's bear spray, holster and whatnot. And that has stayed on my hip every time. It's part of my backpack now. And it's funny because I also bought like a little short barrel 12 gauge collapsible defender kind of thing, right? But even as I think of it, it's on my backpack. If I were to ever get attacked, you think I have enough time to get 4 straps off, unclip? Like, no, man, I'm dead before I even get my backpack off. So
100%. And it was like same deal. I bought like a short barrel shotgun and like a 12 gauge, and like bear spray comes with me everywhere I go. But I remember I walked into Canadian Tire and I bought a knife like a couple of years ago, and he was like, oh, what's this knife for? I was like, just really sheepish, didn't want to tell him that I was going to be battling a cougar or something. Like that was the knife that I was going to use. And he's like, and I eventually told him, he was like, and we're both looking at each other like, and so anyway, recommended a great one, and it's been in my pack ever since. But yeah, like you said, like there's no matter how much you practice, if you're like, those animals are so creepy, cougars included, like bears, for as big as they are, they can be right on top of you and you wouldn't even know. If they have the time and they got the jump on you, that's the end of the story. Yeah.
It was like, even that cougar encounter, we I say joked about it, laughed about it later on that night at camp. We're like, man, if it wanted us, it would have been honest before we even knew, right? And then you do the what ifs. Well, should we have shot it? Like, what if it came at us? If it started coming, would you even get an air? Like, we have a little hip knife on us that's maybe 4 inches. Like, we're defenseless. Like, what do you do, right? And it's you play out those situations and you hope they never happen, but you got to be ready.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I battle with my dog and pretend that he's a wolf just to be, just to get that extra prep in. Basically the same thing. The cutest little German Shepherd puppy who wouldn't hurt anyone. But it's like if they want you, they're gonna get you.
So you do, I would say, the majority of your hunting solo, right? By yourself normally, 95% of the time, kind of thing?
I'd say so, yeah.
Ever been in any kind of dangerous situations, or where you've been lost, or it was a situation that you weren't comfortable in?
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of them. Like, as far as big game wise, like I've had, I think it was a lynx, I think, that came in behind me, and like I was sitting in a deer blind. It was like November, and I remember there were some prairie chickens that flew out right in front of me, and they were at like 20, 25 yards, and I kept hearing stuff in the bush. And it was like, you hear one crack and then you like gaslight yourself enough, like, because you don't hear it for a while. And then you're like, okay, it's your brain. You must just be your brain. And then like 10 minutes later, you're like, wait, I heard that again. And then all of a sudden that happened for like probably, I don't even know, half an hour, 40 minutes. And then all of a sudden the woods just erupted. And the grouse or the prairie chickens all took off at the same time. And then there's just this lynx that's standing right there 25 yards away from me. And I'm like, dude, where did you come from? Like,
yeah.
But that was that was just like off-putting, I think. That was like my first predator kind of experience at that close. I've had bears, like everyone's has a bear story of bears coming in close, and same deal. Like I've had black bears just come sniff my barrel and my rifle when I'm sitting at that same stand.
Yeah.
I had a grizzly bear at that place that I shot my elk this past year in 2023. It was probably 200 yards away from me, and I just remember I was creeped out because I had already seen a black bear. I don't like bears at all, and I was coming out and I had seen a black bear. And so I'm like cruising out of the woods as fast as I can. And I looked down the cut line behind me. I turned at this like T intersection, and I went right, and I looked back behind me, and I heard like a bunch of stuff happening. And I looked back, and it just looked like that there was this hay bale that was, you know, cruising across the wide opening of that, you know, of the cut line or the whatever it was. And I was like, I am 99% sure that was a grizzly bear, but you're convincing yourself the whole way out that was a moose. That was a moose. And you're like, it was terrifying. And I never went back in there after that happened last year. And then a couple of days later, I had posted in a video of mine, but a friend of mine at the time, he like saw grizzly tracks. I have a picture of them on my Instagram. Go check it out. But it's like, it was like right where I parked my truck, and it was like too much. I'm like, I'm not here for that. You guys can have all the elk in this spot. I'm not ever coming back.
So you don't hunt that area anymore, or?
Well, this year, that's where I got my elk. But last year I was like, I'm good. And so I gave up on it there last year. But yeah, this year I was in there and I ended up 3 kilometers back, and that's where I got my elk. But luckily I had a friend that, he brought his quad out on Thanksgiving. So shout out to him. But yeah.
And I think the important thing is, right, like, I mean, we are in those wild places, whether we're 500 yards from the truck or 5 kilometers into the bush. Kind of like you said, we get chasing animals doing things, and we don't really, at least I don't, worry about it until you get to a certain point. You're like, where am I? Or if I were to get something, now what? Like, am I even going to get out here? So I think as long as we're prepared and we know that grizzlies are around and we're sharing the woods with them, and be prepared, I think that's all. I think that's all we can really do.
That's all. Yeah, that is totally all you can do. It's just like knowing that and accepting that, like, not like at some point, any day, you could literally see a grizzly at any point. So it is what it is, as they say.
That's why you moved to Alberta.
That's why I'm here.
Going back to why you moved to Alberta and just that class of whitetail, I'm excited to get into this story because I've been following you. It feels like we say forever. 1,000,000 years and 6 months, but like for a couple of years, and the caliber of deer that you have put your mind to, set a goal for yourself to accomplish. And in one of your videos, you share, here's what I'm after. It's got to be 180 inches, or it has to have this certain wow factor. And you call it the 5-year deer. And it took you 5 years to kind of get to this point, to get to the deer that you did harvest last year. So take me through kind of where and how you set those targets for you. Did you have enough meat in the freezer, or you just wanted a big wall hanger, or where that concept came from?
I have no clue. And I've been asked that question a few different times. I literally have no idea where that imaginary number came from. 180 inches or an undefinable wow factor. Back when I first started filming, officially releasing videos in 2021, 5 years dumber than I am now, I'm like, you know what? You know what would be cool if we went after this giant buck that no one's ever seen in their life, kind of thing. And so I've just, I came to Alberta for bucks like that, and had, I've been very fortunate over the last, whatever it is, 10, 12, or well, I guess from 2014 leading up till 2020, where I was getting, I was tagging bucks anywhere from like 130 to 150 inches. And then you just want to take like the next step. You want to challenge yourself to learn more about big bucks and what they do. And I think that that's been a wicked part of the entire journey, because learning how to hunt big whitetails versus hunting not small whitetails by any means, but just the separation that exists between those big boys and the bucks that I was used to shooting. It's like you're hunting an entirely different species, and it's the challenge of it, I think, and being obsessed with antlers forever. Like, you would just always want to see something like that for yourself, and be it my dad or whatever. And we talked a little bit about this, but my dad shot back in the day. Back in '93 in New Brunswick, he ended up shooting 170 class buck, which is unheard of for you know, for the East Coast. Certainly even in Alberta, those bucks are hard to come by. And I think that was definitely kind of playing into the 180 class, whether I was, you know, thinking it or saying it out loud. Like I definitely was like, okay, that's what a 170 looks like. I want to get a 180. And yeah, and so I don't know. And so since then, I just kind of committed to it. I remember the first buck that I ended up passing up in 2021 was probably, he was a slammer. Like he was 130 or anywhere from 130 to 150. I couldn't be able to tell for sure, but he was any other year, I'd be taking the shot on him. And I think when you're, you know, you double down after that, you watched him walk, and then you're just like, okay, we're going to see this through kind of to the end. And just kind of was, and I left the undefinable wow factor as a loophole, just in case there was like a 140 class double drop time that walked out that, you know, that you had to pull on. But yeah, so that's kind of where that came from.
Okay. So in those years that you've let a lot of different deer pass that you've passed on, that you've let walk, hard to let that go? Or is it just like, oh man, I need to kill something? Or was it an easy decision?
Okay. So when, like, I think it was a very different feeling, that buck that I just talked about in 2021 versus the buck that I never shot last year that was out of focus kind of thing.
Right.
And I think that it's a progression of like the first buck that you pass on, you're kind of like, check out what I have on camera that I let walk away and stuff. And so it's like, whether you got something or not at the end, you're like, look at this cool footage that I had, look what I got to experience. And that's great. And like, if that's, you know, but I think doing that a couple of years in a row, and not just not getting a shot at something, but not being like, yeah, I guess not finding that caliber of deer was like really defeating. You know, it's like every year you usually I'll see 1 to 2 really, really nice bucks per whitetail season. Like it averages out that way, that I've got like 1 or 2 that are probably shooters. But after, you know, and I take it seriously, as you know, Jeff, and I'm just out nonstop 24/7, and it starts to weigh on you after 3-4, when you're on your 4th year and you have this giant 6x6 walk out in front of you, and you know, you're like, that could potentially, you know, meet the criteria, or at least, you know, start to scrape up against the edge of it. You start to, it becomes less, it starts to dwell on, like it starts to dwell for sure. And I talked about this, like it extends beyond the season too. Like you think about those beyond the season ending. And so, but I've been fortunate enough that every year, like I'll get an elk, and Shana is my partner. She loves elk too. And so the deer would mostly be for me. But it is what it is in that regard. But it's just, it was a long journey to get to where we finally got to this past year. So
and I've followed along because I'm a fan. And there was that one deer that you had on your video, and I can't tell you what the size was, but it was on that piece of property that you didn't have permission on, but you got great footage of him as he's walking, and he enters the tree line, and you're like, oh my God, I need to find out. And you drove around and you're doing your homework as quick as you can. And then I remember you were recording when you heard that gunshot went off, and I saw your face. You're like, ooh. And you went through some thoughts and some emotions. Can you take us through that part of your journey? As painful as it might be to open up some old scars, but
no, for sure. I think that, and that was like, when I talk about finding deer of that caliber, right? Like that was exactly what happened. And with that buck, sometimes you get lucky and you drive by and you see a buck and you're like, okay, great, we found this buck. Maybe you're on day 2 of the season or whatever. But this buck, I had pictures of him leading back till September. And so you're kind of like thinking about this buck from September onward, right? Usually all my hunting, I do it, or for whitetails specifically, is done in November only. And, you know, as long as depending on when I get my elk and everything, it kind of calculates where the whitetail hunting comes in. But yeah, with him, I just remember yeah, finally seeing him in real life, and the picture that I had on my trail camera, like the camera was like looking down like this on him, and so it was like he was coming underneath, and so his tines didn't look as big as like they just like it was looking down. It was a bad angle, and when I saw him in real life, I was like, that's I don't even know if that's the same deer because this deer just looked like it was a Cabela's, like it was like something that you would see there. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the like, and your like brain is like, what is that? Like, and that's why I'm here. Like that's why those guys right there are why I'm here. But and so having and then starting to recognize that he was the guy that I had on my trail camera and that I had patterned him pretty well, like from where he was going at different times. Anything's off the table, of course, in the rut, but it was like I kind of had an idea where he was hanging out. And yeah, once I saw that buck, I think that was on like the 8th of November or something like that. And you see a buck like that, and I was like, I am prepared to like sleep in this tree stand. Like I was like right there, like not far off. And an hour before daylight, I'd be into that stand, and I would be like taking my time getting into that stand too. So it's like 2 hours before daylight is when you're going in. And then you're staying sometime. Like if I heard anything right before dusk, I would be waiting an hour afterwards before I even got out of my stand and just doing everything, right? And sitting the entire days, and those days get exhausting on you. And so it was by the 17th, and the 17th was when I shot my biggest buck ever before this year, which is this guy right here.
Nice.
This one. But it was on the 17th when I tagged him. And so I was like, okay, November 17th, this is like my day. This is like, things are going to come together. Everything was perfect. I was like, this is what you dream about as a whitetail hunter. And it was like half an hour before dusk, before legal light. And I had my DJ, I had like a little action camera out in front of me. And then I had my main camera focused on like where I expected that he was going to come out from. And this one was just rolling. And so it's just rolling and rolling. And then sure enough, like you just heard a gunshot, and it was probably, I don't even know, like a kilometer behind me or something like that. And it was just like, you get a feeling. And I knew in that moment, and I said that in the video, and those are literally true words, that I was like, I knew right then that the buck that I was going after had been shot by someone. And I knew it. No one had to tell me. I was fortunate enough to get a phone call that night that someone had sent me a picture. I never shared that in the video just out of respect for the person, but
for sure.
Yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow, because you're like, then at that point in time, you're 2 weeks into your hunting vacation, your whitetail vacation, you've been going after this guy for the entire time. And in my head, I'm like, you just wasted like not wasted, but
yep.
It looks like you're going to end the season the same way that you've done the past 5 years. And it's like, I remember telling Shana, I'm like, this sucks. Like my brain is cooked at this point. Like it's mentally, physically, everything else exhausting when something like that happens. And, it just felt like it was going to happen again. So I was like, man, I'm ready to come home.
And it makes you, I mean, I've never had that exact situation happen, but I think we've all been to that point where you're beaten down, you're 2 weeks in, you've been through all the emotions, you're drained, you're cold, you're tired, you're hungry. And then to have that on top of it. And I think that's where you say, you're like, I want it to quit. And I mean, I know how many times I go through it in my head where I want to quit in a year, let alone knowing someone just took the deer that was number one for me, right? I'd be like, pack it up, I'm done. But how do you get through that?
Yeah, that one was probably the toughest. And it wasn't just that deer in particular. Like, I mean, that deer for sure in particular, but it was like the circumstances of everything, like the 2 weeks in, 5 years of doing this, all of that stuff. And then not having a backup plan. And then just being like, man, this actually is like, what are you doing? Like I made that goal when I was, starting a YouTube channel. And I was like, is that really a realistic goal? Like you haven't seen a 180-inch buck probably in your life. And then suddenly you're going to put this on your, that's going to be your goal list. It's like, dude, what are you? And so it was humbling. And I think even now, like, I'm like, dude, that is a crazy caliber of buck to, you know, if I'm going to be passing up deer every single year to get to that standard still. But it, yeah, I think, you know, like you and I have talked about this too, Jeff, and that people in your life, and I don't want to sound corny or cliche, but there's people in your life that know how much passion we have for this and being out in the bush. And we've talked about how our partners support us through this stuff. And, you know, to a lot of people, these are videos, but like we are legitimately obsessed with the outdoors, and our partners are really the only ones that kind of understand that. And so their words through, you know, all of this is, you know, the entire journey really kind of push you to kind of keep going. I think even in the hunting community, I mentioned this earlier, Jeff, but just getting messages from hunters that are going through the dog days or the dark days, whatever ones they are, just, you know, hunters understand for the most part what it's like to go through that. And yeah, I think that definitely, like, I truly was ready to come home, and she told me, don't come home. So I don't know, and whether that was for her own benefit, I don't know, but it was like, yeah, it was just one of those things. And then everything kind of changed the next day. And so everything, you never know what can happen when you're in the whitetail woods. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So you didn't come home, you stayed out, you continued hunting, and what did you get into?
Yeah. I got into some trouble the next day, I guess. Yeah. That was one of those, like, I'm going to go as far back as I possibly can, and I'm not going to think about what happens beyond. You know, I was going back there to get away from people because, you know, that shot that I heard really kind of hit home, especially this year. I found that the hunting pressure was, especially in the spots that I was in, were quite significant in comparison to other years. And so I was like, man, you got to get back. You got to get back out of the woods or back into the woods. And so that's what I did. The next morning, I had wanted to check out a spot forever. And it was just this, I don't know, like, I always compared it to like Wisconsin or something like that. Like, there's full of ridges and just like, I don't know, just like a place that you would expect that there would be some sort of giant. And I've seen nice deer in there in the past, but, you know, heavy 5x4s and like some nice deer. And I remember pretty close to there was probably the biggest buck that I've ever seen, but I was driving. I never got a really good look at him, but just the frame that he had. So all these things together, I'm like, okay, we got genetics pretty close. So, and now we got lots of big bush. We have people that generally aren't willing to go back, you know, as that far. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to check it out and try it out. So I was there probably half an hour before legal light, I think, that day, and a little earlier or a little late that day, just because I didn't know the area that well. I didn't want to start walking without knowing where I was going. I had a general idea based on like a map that showed like the top of the ridge. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, if I can get to that ridge at daylight, then I'll be happy and I'll go from there. And yeah, that's exactly kind of what happened. I got up to that ridge, and it was like, as soon as legal light hit, I had a doe and a fawn come into me. They blew at me a couple times. I spooked them away, but I'm like, okay, we're in whitetail territory. We're good. And so in your mind, despite everything that happened the day before, or whatever, the day before, whatever it was, you're like, okay, we're back in it. Like, anything can happen. And I remember I just started walking back there, and it was like the further and further you got, wouldn't you know it, the more sign you started finding. And I started finding like some pretty ridiculous rubs and scrapes and stuff. And you're like, man, I wonder, like, the 200-inch monster starts to like creep into your mind a little bit. And you're like, I wonder if this is where he's at, kind of thing. And yeah, I think I was like 2 kilometers into the bush, and I just remember I was bent down over a scrape, and I was just like, and there was part of me that thought that anything was going to happen that day. And so I'm filming this like giant whitetail track on this scrape, and I'm like, the people are going to love this because you're not going to get another buck this year. So you're just going to get to show them this giant whitetail track. And so I'm showing this. And then while this is happening, I start to hear like all kinds of kind of chaos, 200 yards away or something. And I look over, and there's like a nice 4x4 coming in, and the way that he was just in the sun and he just looked so beautiful. I was just like taking in the moment, just, shed a tear and stuff. And and then it was like whenever he stopped, I kept hearing noise behind him. And so he would stop, I'd hear the noise, then he'd start to move again, and then you'd hear like 2 deer moving, and I'm like, all I have to do is see what that other deer is. And you're just like, when you know that there's like, okay, this is kind of showing that this is kind of the scenario that you're in when you tell a story about your giant buck that you tag, right? And and I'm looking at him, and so I remember seeing him for the first time, and it was like I said, I've never seen like in real life 180-inch buck in real life, but there's when you see a deer and you're like actively assessing their frame to see if it will make the 180-inch cutoff, and then you see a deer and you're like, that's a slammer, like, and you're ready, right? And that was the kind of buck that he was. And there was no assessment required. Like, I think I captured it in my footage. It was like 5 seconds total time from the time that I watched him for the first time, and I just saw the giant frame cross into those depth of aspens that I was talking about. And his G2, I just remember seeing like his G2 was split in 2, and I was like, oh my God, like this guy's got sweet character. He's got all that, and you're processing this, trying to work your camera, trying to get the shot off and stuff. And he appeared in my camera for like a split second, and then I just remember he was just about to go down over a hill, and I probably never would have seen him again. I'm like, it's now or never, buddy. So you want to relive the situation you're in last year? No. And so ended up just kind of ripping the safety off, and I pulled the trigger, and I lost him right away because the recoil of the rifle, and then he started running. I saw him kind of run down out of my naked eye just at like 130 yards or something. He ran down into the bottom of the ridge, and it was like within 10 minutes. So as soon as I shot, I ran over to the tip of the ridge line. Like, I slammed my camera on the ground, and I'm like trying to look down there to see what's all happening, to see if I could get a look at him. And it was like the weirdest thing. It was like a friggin' Disney movie. All these bucks just randomly started like spawning everywhere. And I'm like, dude, this any other time, this would be the best case scenario ever. And so you're seeing like 4 or 5 different bucks like appearing. And then you're like, is that the buck that I shot? And they're a lot smaller, and you're like, your brain starts to do these crazy things when your adrenaline is that high. And so I waited for a full hour before, like, watching all these other bucks run away or walk away and stuff. And I just didn't want to spook anything. And I'm looking for signs of a hit on any one of these deer, looking for like anything, because I was so confident that I took the shot, but I didn't see anything. And so it was an hour later that I decided that I was going to walk up and go to the place that I had last seen him. And I just walked up there, and I just remember I looked down the ridge, and he was probably 50 yards. He might have tumbled a little bit when he ran down, and 50 or 60 yards just at the bottom. And I saw the white belly, and you looked at that frame and you're like, what is that?
And it had the wow factor, right? Like,
totally did. And like those G2s that were kind of thrown, and each step that I took down to get towards them too, it was like, certainly the biggest buck that I've ever shot. And like, I think he beats that guy by like, I don't even know, 25 inches or something like that. And when you see something like that on the foot, like it's just like this crazy, like, I don't know. And then so walked down to him, and I just remember, just putting my hands on him for the first time, and then just everything kind of hits you, and you're like, man, this is like, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain what that feeling's like. And it's just when everything finally comes together for you, it's just it's hard to explain. You know that feeling.
Oh, for sure. You feel so many different emotions. I mean, you feel thankful, and there's gratitude, and you reflect. I mean, there's so many things that I call it downloading. And when I get there, it's like,
nice.
There's that instant sense of relief. Like, I recovered it. I'm here. My hands are on it. And then it's just all those hardships turn into gratifying.
Yeah.
You're right. It's hard to describe. Definitely hard to describe.
Yeah. Well put. Downloading. Yeah, definitely. You're taking in a lot of information all at once. And like you said, when you finally, it's like, okay, we have punched our tag. And then it's like processing that is kind of a big thing after 5 years or any time, any season. So
who was your first call?
First call was probably, it was Emma or Shanaz. I'm not sure which one. I think it was like I blacked out, but I think I called Emma. And I remember like at that time, like we weren't sure how big he was, and we were walking up to him and stuff, and we had no idea. And I remember like the picture that I took of him for the first time was like I didn't do him much justice. Sorry, buddy. Like I took a picture from like behind, and she was like, "Oh, congratulations." And I'm like, like, and so the worst, but then you get your hands on him and you get like, then you actually see what he looks like. And so anyway, I called her back after that. And I was like, "Hey bro, it's okay." Yeah. I got what I was looking for. And then, but yeah, with Shanaz too, I called her after, and not necessarily to go through like the nitty gritty details of everything, but just like, she knows what I've gone through, and like and I sound like poor me and stuff. I'm so fortunate to be out here going hunting and doing everything that I love, but truly I have been so like, I am obsessive over it. Like, I don't know what other word I can use. And she knows how obsessed I am with it. Everything's about whitetails all the time. Like, it's just, and so, she knew what I was kind of going through from like an emotional standpoint, I guess. So calling her and processing like all of that stuff. And that was like two different kinds of phone calls. You got your bro and you got your honey kind of thing. So
yeah, for sure. I found it very, we compared how both of our styles, video and like our hunting, is very similar to each other. And I found it so weird when I watched your whitetail video that we both did the same thing in ours without even knowing it. Like, I go down there, I put up the camera. I'm like, man, I got to thank Shanaz for just her patience and understanding and putting up with me. I know what I go through in a year. To be in a relationship with me, I would have probably left me a long time ago, saying, I can't handle you from September to November. You are a different dude. And we both showed that appreciation and gratitude for our spouses, because they're a huge support. And I think they're probably very similar with, they don't necessarily understand the outdoors and what happens, and they see what we put ourselves through, and just to celebrate with them, it means so much. And to hear the excitement in their voices, because they're excited for us, right? It's I found that cool that we both kind of did that same thing. And I was like, oh, Shane did it too. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like even in some of your older videos too, like when I watched, like it's like we have we process that, we download the same, I guess, and like when that stuff is happening, and even leading up to that, like I was definitely, there's a lot of similarities in how our videos are, for sure. So
not it's $1 million question. What was the score? And I know you did a contest, and I'll admit it, I stole that from you when I went and got my whatever he is over there scored. I'm like, that was a great thing, and it gives me an opportunity to give away some DOA swag. What did your deer end up scoring?
He ended up scoring, I think gross score, he was 100 and I think he was 160 and change, like just over 160, which I was, certainly happy with. I think there was 167 inches of like antler there, but with the way that the deductions were all worked, anyway, that was a learning experience and stuff. But certainly, you put him in front of me again today, I'm taking that shot for sure. And beautiful deer, just the character. And I kind of weighed back and forth as far as, when I first shot him, I'm like, okay, we're going to get like a plaque mount done. And then it graduated to like a Euro. And then I'm like, I'm going to get a shoulder mount. And now he's at the taxidermist for a full pedestal mount. So that happens. So but
that's awesome. Yeah, and it's weird. I've never really been a big score guy. I mean, it's good to know what they are and this and that. And it's funny because even with my deer that I got this year, I knew it was a good size. I've seen him on camera and kind of with the hardships that I went through, and I had that bad shot earlier, and this one came out, and I'm like, wow, I think he's bigger than basket case. I think he's my biggest one, and I didn't know, so I take it to the horn scoring events just to have that number. Be like, oh, okay, because everyone always asks, oh, what did it score? And it's amazing that some people can just look at it and be like, oh, it's going to be about that, right? It's like, holy crap, those guys are good out there.
Yeah, that's a crazy skill to have. And even watching some of like the best whitetail hunters I know, sometimes being putting their guesses in and being like not being even close sometimes. And it's like, I think it can give you, like, if you're talking like a 170 class buck or 180 class buck, kind of gives you an idea as far as like what a frame might look like. But once you get into like those really small details, like whether he's a 6x5 or a 6x6, and like how those different elements kind of contribute, like it's really, really tough to score an animal like just by looking at them, or especially on the fly. But those guys that can do it well, that's a crazy skill to have for sure.
What do you like better? Do you like a buck with a whole bunch of character and a whole bunch of junk, or do you like the symmetrical, big, tall tines, or what do you like?
Yeah, I'm definitely I'll shoot both. But I think like definitely the big, like typical frames, I think are like, for me, like you think about that Milo Hansen buck and you think about like that buck for me was always kind of like the guy, right? And it's cool to see, like I always was obsessed with like drop tines before, because I never really saw them a whole bunch in my life. Like I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3. And so I thought that was cool. A couple of years ago, I had like he was a relatively small drop tine, but still it was a drop tine. And it was like, he was cool. But definitely if you get a big whitetail frame in front of me, a nice typical frame with a drop tine or 2, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah. And then everyone looks for something different in what they're after, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah. So I mean, one of the questions that I have is looking into the future. What's on your goals for the fall of 2026? Yeah, we're in 2026. Yeah.
2026 already. Yeah, I'm getting old these days, but I think 2026. Chances are, if all things go according to plan, I think I'll get my moose tag this year, first time ever. So that'll be pretty cool. Draw my moose tag, but you know me, I'm all about the whitetails. So it's like I'm going to be back at, like, whether that buck, that I don't know if I can stop now now that I kind of have learned a little bit about what it takes. Like I don't know, I don't want to sound too like theatrical, been saying what it takes to find, like, but like you challenge yourself and you want to like get a little bit better about, I don't know, finding big bucks consistently. And so now it's like you go to the middle of nowhere where people are not, and I'm willing to do that again this year. I think if anything, this was like a reminder that I'm not terrible at hunting. It's like, okay, you got a little bit, you're learning, you're still I'll forever be on a learning journey. But I think last year it was like, you're capable of finding the buck that you want. I think it's just now making it happen. So
right. So kind of that same thing. It's like you have a standard, that's what you want to achieve, that's your goal, and kind of look for it. So
100%. So we'll see how.
And I get what you mean too, like with the whitetails, and not that I've shot big whitetails, but for the last 2 years I shot, I say fairly decent ones, right? And even at the end of last year, when I started packing up everything, I'm like, okay, what am I after this year? And it's always a challenge against myself, and I don't compete with anybody else. There's certain things that I want to achieve in my hunting career, and it's the whitetails for me is kind of like, okay, I've proved to myself that I can get on what I'll call the bigger ones in my areas. For some other people, maybe they're like, oh man, you're shooting dinks. That's beautiful. That's nothing. I've proven to myself that I can get on them. I can pattern them. I can make the shot. Okay, we're good. And not that I'm not going to focus on whitetails, because where I bow hunt, I mean, that's all that's there. I mean, there's a little bit of muleys and stuff now. But my focus kind of changed to, I have access to a property now where I have a pretty decent mule deer on camera that I'm able to take with archery. So that's kind of one of my goals that I'm looking at. And the other one is to get an elk with my bow. All the elk that I've gotten have been with a rifle. And if I would have just kept my bow with me, they've all been at range. And it's kind of not to title what my year is going to be, because I never know what it's going to be, but going into it, it's kind of that bow or bust year. It's
gotcha.
I'm going to take the bow. I want to get an elk with my bow. I want to get that muley buck. And I mean, of course, if I run into my target deer bow tang that I've seen for the last few years, yeah, I will definitely launch an arrow his way too. But yeah. I think it's good to set goals for yourself, so you have something to aim for, right?
For sure. And I think it helps you, like, when things aren't going well too. It's like something to, like, I don't know. I feel like it's harder to give up on something after you've committed to doing something, instead of, if that makes sense. Like, and so when you do, yeah, totally. When you're setting goals for yourself, it's definitely something that I've done for a while and probably continue to do. So
yeah, you said something a couple minutes ago. I didn't want to interrupt you when you were talking, but you're like, oh yeah, I've reminded myself that I am good. I know what I'm doing. Because it's funny, because I think at times when it's not going our way, we second guess ourselves. Like, do I even know anything? Like, I thought I knew this. And whether that's elk, moose, deer, whatever you're hunting, you second guess yourself. And it's nice to prove yourself wrong every now and again.
100%. And yeah, 100%. And I think it's a good mindset to have too, because it's the guys that go in, you know, I would hate to be on the opposite end of the spectrum where I think I know everything about everything. And then that's a dangerous place to be. And so being in a place where, you know, you're constantly challenging yourself to learn is I'm comfortable being there. And yeah, it's like, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And I think we learn so much more from even area to area, from talking with people, whether it's listening to podcasts or going to a seminar or just chatting with friends, is that what works for me here might not work for someone else, but you share that information and you kind of create your own path, your own plan. Right. And I find that so amazing that I never stop learning, just keep absorbing. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound right. But I'll tell you what, there'll be times in the bush where what I'm doing isn't working. I'm like, what did that guy say about that again? Like, okay. And you learn. You never stop. You never stop.
It's true. Yeah. There's a million different ways to swim across a pond. So, or to get across a pond. So.
Yeah, for sure. I am going through my notes. You want to do a little bit of rapid fire to close things off?
Let's do some rapid fire, Jeff.
Rapid fire.
All right.
Gotta put on my glasses. That's getting hard to do too, with like even shooting bow hunting and whatnot, like the pin and the target. And I use it for computers and reading. And there's going to be a time where everything's going to be blurry in my pins. Until then. Yeah. All right. So I got a few questions. It's kind of a this or that. No need to explain unless you want to. Okay. But here we go. A ground stalk or a tree stand sit?
Oh, God. Depends on the animal. But I would go, oh, God, tree stand sit.
Tree stand. Whitetails or elk? I think I know the answer to this one now.
Got to be my babies, the whitetails.
Morning or evening hunt?
I hate getting up in the morning, but it's always the best. I gotta say morning.
Do you have more success with morning hunts than evening hunts?
Always really? In the morning. Always in the morning. Yeah, it's like I think I've shot maybe. Yeah, it's like early morning or middle of the day. Weirdly enough, and so never in the evenings. But I love evening hunts because they're so relaxed. But I hate walking in the dark and everything else.
I hear you. It's dark. It's scary. It's normally colder and stuff. I think for me, I'm probably even, like morning and afternoons. I've probably taken equally the amount of same animals. I think I prefer evenings a little bit better, but it's so nice when you get something in the morning and then you got the daylight to get it out rather than working with headlights and in the dark. And
definitely.
Yeah. Following tracks or following your gut instinct?
Wow, what a good question. Experience would say tracks, but I'm going to say my gut feeling.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, 100%.
And the coffee company that you're working with, give them a plug. Go ahead, give them a shout out.
Yes. Canadian Heritage Roast & Co. These guys are unreal. I've been talking to them. I think I've been with them for like a year now. Talking to Mike every other day. He's one of those guys that'll be in your DMs giving you like kudos and like same as you, Jeff, and just constantly supporting people. Their coffee's unreal. The people are better. And yeah, every bag that you buy, you get a tree planted. Money goes back to conservation. There's so much. They're former wildfire fighter guys. So I think that's my plug. Those guys are unreal. And if you haven't checked out their coffee, you should go try it out for sure.
And Shane 20 still gives you a discount?
Wow. Yeah.
Hey!
Shane 20. How did I forget that? Come on, let's go. Shane 20 for a discount, baby.
All right, back on track. Timber or field edge?
Timber.
Playlist or podcast?
Playlists.
And what artist are we going to find on one of your playlists? What do you listen to?
God. Let me check out my most recent song that I was listening to. This might be embarrassing. I might lie to you outright, but okay. What do we got? I've been listening to Silver Sun Pickups. I just went to their concert a couple of nights ago. Just an old indie band. Took me back in time to the 2000s. Everyone was wearing skinny jeans, so I kind of felt out of place with my loose Levi's, but it was a good time. Silver Sun Pickups.
Never heard of them, but I'll check them out. Lucky hat or no such thing as luck?
Definitely a lucky hat.
Yeah. One word that describes hunting.
I thought about this one, so I kind of cheated. Fulfilling. And I feel like that's understated. It's not the best word ever, but I feel like that was the best word that I could come up with. Fulfilling. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. And you did your homework because you have watched, so thank you for that. And then maybe you did homework for this one too, but the hardest question of the whole podcast is one word that describes yourself.
Yeah, and I couldn't answer this one, so I asked Shanaz, and she said kooky. So I can't describe myself. I don't know how I was going to pick something like obsessive or something, and it's kind of sounds serial killer vibes. So we'll go with kooky with my honey's words. So
there you go. No, that is awesome. I know I appreciate you carving out the time to sit down with me. I was looking forward to this one for such a long time. There was so many things I didn't know that I do know now, and hopefully for everyone that's listening or watching, they've got a chance to know you a little bit better. I can tell everyone in my audience that the Shane guy here, that guy, whatever side of the screen, that guy there is one of the genuine guys, a nice guy, does things right. So I encourage you to go check him out. Shane Hunts, again, on Instagram and on YouTube. And Shane, thanks so much for sitting down and sharing those intimate moments with me and all your experiences. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks for honestly honored to be here, Jeff. Thank you so much again, not only for this, but for everything you do outside of this in the hunting season and everything else. You're a genuine real one too, and I'm happy to have you as along on the journey with me. So thank you.
You betcha, man. I appreciate your kind words, and I thank you for sharing your voice on Voices, which is a podcast by DOA, Dorward Outdoor Adventures. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to watch this full episode with videos and pictures of this story on my YouTube channel. Also reminding you to subscribe to my audio podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen.